something feels off, and you can't explain it. You want to change your life. You think about it all the time. You imagine a better version of yourself, more focused, more disciplined, more successful. But when it's time to actually do something, you freeze, not physically, but mentally. You sit there, scrolling, delaying, thinking, telling yourself, I'll start in a minute, and that minute never comes. Hours pass, days pass, sometimes even months. And the worst part? You're not lazy, you're not stupid. You know exactly what you should be doing, but you still don't do it. So you start believing something is wrong with you. You tell yourself, I just need more motivation. I'm not disciplined enough. Other people are different. But what if none of that is true? What if the real problem is something much deeper and much more hidden? What if your mind is quietly lying to you about motivation, and those lies feel so real that you never question them because they sound logical, they sound reasonable, they sound like your own voice, but they're not helping you. They're keeping you stuck. And once you see how this works, you'll never look at motivation the same way again. Let's start with the biggest lie. I need to feel motivated before I start. This belief is everywhere. It sounds smart. It feels natural, because we're used to thinking like this. I'll work when I feel ready. I'll go to the gym when I feel energized. I'll start when I'm in the right mood. But here's the truth. Most people never realize that right mood almost never comes, because motivation is not the starting point. It's the result. Think about the last time you actually felt motivated. Was it before you started something, or after you had already begun? Most of the time, it comes after. After you take the first step. After you get into the flow. After your brain stops resisting. But your mind flips this completely. It tells you to wait. And that waiting becomes a trap. Because the longer you wait, the harder it feels to start. Now your brain adds more thoughts. It's too late now. I already wasted the day. I'll just start tomorrow, and just like that, another day is gone. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you were waiting for a feeling that never arrived. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect you. But it's using an old system. In a modern world, your brain is wired for survival, not success. Thousands of years ago, conserving energy was important. Avoiding effort, avoiding risk, staying comfortable. That kept people alive, so your brain still follows that pattern. Anytime you think about doing something difficult, your brain reacts like it's a threat, not a real danger, but a perceived one. Effort feels uncomfortable. Uncertainty feels risky. Failure feels painful. So your brain steps in and says, let's not do this right now. But it doesn't say it directly. Instead, it disguises the message. I'm not motivated. I don't feel like it. I'll do it later. And because it sounds like your own voice, you believe it. That's the trick. It doesn't force you to stop. It convinces you. Now imagine this. You're sitting down to do something important. Maybe it's studying. Maybe it's working on a project. Maybe it's something you've been delaying for weeks. The moment you think about starting, your brain zooms in on the hardest part. It shows you the effort, the boredom, the frustration. It makes the task feel bigger than it actually is, so naturally, you avoid it. But here's what your brain doesn't show you: how easy it feels after you begin, because something changes once you start. The resistance drops, your focus increases, the task becomes manageable. But you never reach that point, because you stopped at the beginning. This is one of the biggest psychological traps. You're making decisions based on how something feels before you start, instead of how it feels after you begin. And those two feelings are completely different. Let's make this simple. Starting is uncomfortable. Continuing is easier, but your mind exaggerates the starting phase. So much that you never get past it. It turns a small action into something overwhelming. Instead of just open your laptop, it becomes I need to finish everything. Instead of just write one paragraph, it becomes I need to create something perfect. And perfection kills action because your brain sees it as too much. So it chooses the easier option, avoidance. And here's the dangerous part. Avoidance feels good in the moment. When you delay something, you feel relief. But later, that relief turns into stress, and now the task feels even heavier. So you avoid it again, and just like that, you're stuck in a loop. Avoid, relief, guilt, pressure. Avoid again. This loop has nothing to do with motivation. It's about how your brain manages discomfort. Now let's talk about something deeper. Why does doing nothing feel easier, even when it makes your life worse? The answer is simple. Your brain loves instant rewards. Scrolling your phone, instant dopamine, watching videos, instant entertainment, doing nothing, zero effort. But meaningful work, that's delayed reward. You don't see results immediately. You don't feel amazing right away, and your brain doesn't like that, so it keeps pulling you toward easy, fast pleasure. Not because it's better, but because it's immediate. This is why motivation feels inconsistent, because you're constantly choosing between what feels good now and what's good for you later. And your brain naturally picks now, unless you train it differently. Now, here's a powerful shift. Instead of asking, how do I feel motivated? Start asking, how do I make this easier to start? Because motivation is unreliable, but systems are not. Small actions are not. Consistency is not. You don't need a burst of energy. You need a smaller starting point. If something feels too big, your brain will reject it, but if it feels small, your brain allows it. That's the key. Make it so easy. You can't say no, not study for 2 hours. Just open the book. Not work out for an hour. Just put on your shoes. Not change your life. Just take one step. Because once you begin, something shifts. Your brain stops resisting and starts cooperating. Let's go even deeper. There's another lie your mind tells you. You need confidence before you act. But confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Confidence is built from proof. Every time you take action, you show your brain that you can do it. And slowly, your brain updates its belief. But if you wait to feel confident, you never get that proof. So nothing changes. This is why people stay stuck for years, not because they're incapable, but because they're waiting. Waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right feeling, waiting for the right version of themselves. But that version is created through action, not before it. Now think about this. There are people out there who don't feel motivated either. They feel tired, they feel lazy, they feel distracted, but they still act. Not because they feel different, but because they think differently. They don't trust their feelings. They trust their actions. They understand something most people don't. Feelings are temporary. Actions create identity. If you act consistently, your identity changes. You become someone who shows up. And once that identity forms, everything becomes easier. Because now you don't ask, do I feel like it? You ask, is this what I do? And the answer becomes automatic. Here's the deeper truth. Your mind is not your enemy. It's just trying to keep you comfortable. But comfort doesn't lead to growth. Growth comes from doing things that feel slightly uncomfortable, not extreme. Pain, but small resistance. And every time you move through that resistance, you get stronger. Not physically, but mentally. You train your brain to handle discomfort, and once that happens, motivation becomes less important. Because now you don't rely on feelings. You rely on behavior. So what should you actually do? Not something complicated, Not something extreme, just something simple. The next time your mind says, I don't feel like it, pause. Don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Just recognize it. That's not truth. That's resistance. Then do something small. Really small. So small it feels almost pointless, because that's how you break the cycle. Not with big actions, but with consistent small ones, and over time, something incredible happens. You start trusting yourself. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop waiting. You just move. Even on days when you don't feel like it. Especially on those days. Because those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that rewire your brain. Those are the days that separate intention from action. Now let's bring everything together. Your mind tells you you need motivation. But what you actually need is movement. Your mind tells you, wait until you feel ready. But readiness comes from starting. Your mind tells you, this is too hard. But it only feels hard because you haven't begun. These are not truths. They are protective patterns. And once you see them, you stop obeying them. So the next time you feel stuck, remember this. You don't need to change your entire life today. You just need to start. One small action, one small step, one moment of movement. Because that's where everything begins. Not in motivation, but in action. And one day, something shifts. You stop waiting. You stop overthinking. You stop negotiating with yourself. You just start. Without drama, without pressure, without needing to feel anything first. And that's the moment your mind loses control. Because now, you're the one deciding. Not your mood, not your fear, not your temporary lack of motivation. You. And that changes everything. Because the truth is simple. Your mind was never trying to help you move forward. It was trying to keep you safe. But you don't need safety anymore. You need growth. And growth begins the moment you stop believing the lie.